Hi everybody, Beanmeister22 here. Hey, today we're going to do something really special. If you remember from a previous video, I said that I was building another brick aircraft carrier. Well, here it is. This is the Sluban aircraft carrier. And this is a Chinese aircraft carrier, which is based on a design of an original Russian aircraft carrier. And it's a really cool story about how it came into existence. And we'll talk about that later in the video. But right now, let's talk about this aircraft carrier. And yes, it is a very different design than the previous aircraft carriers that we have built. You know, the BrickTech one, the Mega Bloks one, and the Banbao one. All a different style. Those were all based on U.S. or American aircraft carriers, where this is based on a Russian design. And I believe it's the Kiev design. And it's different, not necessarily cooler, not necessarily not as cool. Yeah, it's not as cool, but it's definitely different. And it was a fun build, sorta. We'll talk about that too. Okay, this set has nearly 2,000 pieces, 1,850 pieces, fully Lego compatible. And although you guys know I'm a big fan of Sluban, hey, this aircraft carrier, oh man, I wasn't a big fan of this aircraft carrier. What they did is, and I've complained about this before, what they did is they took a bunch of little teeny tiny pieces to put together to build this where they could have used bigger bricks. I'm not saying they were inflating the brick count, but man, why use 5 or 6 teeny tiny little bricks which are a pain when you can use one standard brick to do the same thing? And then, worse yet, the design. Although it looks cool, I believe this was poorly designed, and I've talked about that in the past, where some Chinese brick sets, they're perfectly fine, but when you look at the way they're designed, you say, what in the world were they doing? This really doesn't go together as shown or as explained, and what I mean by that is, when you do these aircraft carriers, you usually build them section at a time, sometimes the front half and then the back half, sometimes modular. When I started putting these pieces together, just the way it flexed and bowed, there was no way to do it without shoring it up with extra bricks. And sometimes, building anything, if this was made of Lego at this size, you might have to shore it up with extra bricks. And really, if you remember, a lot of the Creo sets actually come with extra bricks. Those Star Trek sets, they come with extra bricks, which are just, you build them and use them as a stand, and then when the product's finished, you take those bricks off and they're extra. This didn't have that. And you wouldn't have been able to take these bricks off anyways because the brick modifications I had to do internally on this thing, they're structural. They're holding this thing together. When you have the narrow bricks, and this was a lot of little teeny tiny bricks, and then the long ones with one stud wide and a bunch of studs long, various sizes. Oh, horrible. And then the the flat ones with the 2 studs wide and a bunch long. Those are always a pain, no matter who makes them, whether it's a Lego or a Mega Bloks or Sluban, no matter who makes those style bricks, when you start getting long runs of those, you got to worry about bowing and flexing and all kind of weird things, and that's the problem with this set. I would have much rather had it be bigger bricks, like the Banbao aircraft carrier, or more recently to me, but definitely an older aircraft carrier, that Mega Bloks Kitty Hawk, which used a bunch of standard bricks. Here's an idea. Let's build it out of standard bricks. It was a good build, but this isn't a build for a novice. Anybody can put any brick set together, and if you fancy yourself as a brick expert, then yes, you are not going to come across something you can't do. But this definitely needed to have some extra shoring up, and I did that, and it's perfectly fine. Now, there's the one other thing. Well, it looks goofy. Well, that's the style of aircraft carrier, and we'll talk about that. But the big thing I was concerned about is this is not necessarily a junior build. You need to know what you're doing, not get frustrated. The instructions were easy enough for the most part. There was a couple times where I'm looking at the instructions and saying, oh man, how is this supposed to go? And then you just get a feel for it, and you just kind of go by intuition. The instructions were there, but the way you had to shore it up with extra stuff, yeah. The instructions were more of a guideline than a rule. Cool set. I'm glad I got it. And this is the 4th aircraft carrier I've built. And really, I've built that Banbao one 3 times so far. And I've already taken it apart again. So in order to show you the Banbao aircraft carrier next to this one and the Kitty Hawk and the BrickTech one, we're going to have to build that Banbao aircraft carrier a 4th time. And you would think I'm getting good at building that thing. Yeah, not really. Of all the brick aircraft carriers so far, it's kind of a toss-up between the BrickTech, the new one, and that Kitty Hawk. both amazingly good. They went together well. Structurally, they're very good. And Sluban could learn a couple things from this. I'm always hearing that, Sluban makes a bunch of cheap knockoffs. Well, in this case, I wish Sluban would have did a knockoff because it would have been a better quality design if they would have copied BrickTech or Mega Bloks. Well, Lego doesn't make an aircraft carrier. So if they would have copied the Kitty Hawk, then it would have been a much better build, a much funner build. This was one I worked on for, a day or so, watching movies, building at the same time. Then I set it on the shelf, and I didn't mess with it for 3 weeks. And I said, I got to get it done. Yeah, but it was horrible. It was just kind of frustrating. It wasn't a good fun build where you can be talking on the phone, watching TV, and building it, petting the dog at the same time. This was something you had to pay attention and make sure everything fit together just right. There's no room for error and for the little tolerances on something like this using that style of bricks. Like I said, a bunch of teeny tiny bricks to do the same job that some standard bricks would do a lot easier. Now, with that said, what are the main differences of this aircraft carrier and the other ones? Well, let's just say the jets are all the same. They all look the same. This has Chinese jets. This is a Chinese aircraft carrier. The bow goes up in a big ramp so you can shoot the jets up there. So you don't need as strong a catapult, or I don't even know if you need a catapult at all with something like this. It'd probably help. Catapults, what are they called? Steam donkeys? Is that what they're called? So it's a different style aircraft carrier. But still cool. You want to have this in your brick navy. And maybe Lego will make something. Yeah, Lego's never going to make something like this. We could put rockets on this and make it a spaceship. What was that cartoon, that Japanese cartoon with that battleship up in space? I know someone's going to know the answer to it. All right, now here's the history on this aircraft carrier. This style of aircraft carrier, I think this is the Chinese carrier. I'm going to pronounce this long. The Liaoning, whatever. I can't even pronounce it. The name will be in the description, as well as a link to the history of this aircraft carrier. They were going to sell this as surplus. So some company in Hong Kong says, now we're talking about the real aircraft carrier, not this brick aircraft carrier. So this company in Hong Kong says, hey, we're going to buy this from you at auction, and we want to make a floating casino out of it. Wow, a floating casino, that'd be cool. That'd be just like the floating museums they make out of these. Well, the casino deal fell through, and the surplus aircraft carrier just happened to make its way to China and the Chinese shipyards, where it was reverse engineered and turned into a Chinese aircraft carrier. They took the best design parts that they liked and they added some new modern stuff. So instead of this being sold for civilian usage as a really cool floating casino, it was sold under the guise of being a casino and was turned into an aircraft carrier. Yeah. That's kind of what happened with the Australian HMS Melbourne, I believe, where it was supposed to be sold for scrap, and they just happened to scrap it in a shipyard in China where they disassembled it piece by piece to learn whatever technology they could. Hey, I guess that's what you do these days, right? So there's really cool history behind this. Look in the description section of this video, and there'll be links for that, as well as a link to where they're selling it on Amazon for $145. $145, that's really a fair price for this. An aircraft carrier like this, maybe 10 years ago, would have cost you probably $200 if you can find one. I think at the time, Mega Bloks was the only one making one. Now there's 4 different aircraft carriers. And this is more along the size with the other ones, the BrickTech one and the Kitty Hawk. If you remember, it's the Banbao aircraft carrier. That's 4 feet long. These are all approximately 3 feet long. And if you didn't want this to be an aircraft carrier, you could do some modifications to it, take the flat deck off it, and probably turn it into a battleship. And that's kind of one of the design things about this. Same basic hull, make a little changes, and it's not like a big super carrier. It's just an aircraft carrier. But for your Navy, it's perfectly fine. And another thing I did like on this, the deck plates are flat. I don't like the deck plates, like on the Banbao one, that has all the studs there. Well, yes, it's a brick thing, but come on. Your aircraft carrier flight deck should be smooth so your airplanes can land and take off. Hey, that's just me. You might have your opinion, but I like the fact that it is smooth like this. And something else that's pretty neat about this, unlike the ones that have wheels on the bottom, this is fully enclosed on the bottom, so you could probably waterproof it, put a keel on it if you wanted to. Which is what we're going to try to do with the Banbao aircraft carrier eventually. But this comes with a display stand. How cool is that? And the display stand, what if you pop some wheels on the bottom of that, and then you can zoom it around that way? Maybe not as good as the BrickTech one or the Kitty Hawk, which has the wheels kind of hidden underneath, so you can zoom it around on the floor, on the table, or on the carpet. But still, the display stand, nice touch. Because in my mind, this is an aircraft carrier you're going to want to build, make a video or two with it, make a Navy video, and then put it on the shelf. I wouldn't be rough with this. I wouldn't want to play with this because it might want to fall apart on you because of its design. And if you drop it, it's going to go into a million pieces. Well, not a million because there's only 1,850 pieces in it anyways. But it's going to go into 1,840 pieces if you drop it. And you're never going to want to put this together. I like the red, very bright colors. That was cool. The contrast, you have the battleship gray, and then you have the black flight deck. Very cool. And the jets, if you like that Chinese style or Russian style fighter jets like that, well, that's pretty cool too, if that's your thing. This is definitely worth getting. $145, and I had free shipping. I don't know if you have free shipping at Amazon, but I do. And they say for size, it is a 1/350th scale aircraft carrier. I don't know if that's true. You got to take them at their word. Now, here on the Amazon site, it says Chinese Army 1/350 aircraft carrier Liaoning Kiev Lego style battleship model block bigger than Creo USS Missouri. Well, yeah, the Creo USS Missouri is small. They should have had something on there saying approximately the same size as the BrickTech aircraft carrier, approximately the same size, slightly smaller and narrower than the Kitty Hawk. And really, it should be, because at scale, they are. This aircraft carrier, the style is smaller than the Kitty Hawk. It is smaller than the modern super carriers. That's just how it is. But yeah, cool set, worth getting. And if you're somebody who likes building things and you like the little intricate things, and right now, there's an aircraft carrier I've been looking at. It's that nano brick or nano block. And I have a couple of those sets, and let me tell you something. They're little teeny tiny Lego type things, and at first glance, wow, they look cool. And I started building Big Ben, from London, and then suddenly it was, oh man, what was I thinking? So there's an aircraft carrier they make too, little tiny nano bricks or nano blocks, but it's about $90, or I've seen it for $85, I've seen it for $109, so about $100, you get a little teeny tiny aircraft carrier. And if I thought this had teeny tiny pieces that were driving me nuts, that is really going to drive me nuts. That's just how it is. Okay, now we're going to compare it side by side with the BrickTech aircraft carrier and the Mega Bloks USS Kitty Hawk aircraft carrier. You can see different style, different design, scaled probably about right. The jets are about the right size. You can fly Lego jets on this if you wanted to, zoom minifigs on it. If you remember the Ban Bao aircraft carrier, they didn't go with teeny tiny jets like this. They went with some goofy looking jets, which are horrible, so that's why I put Lego jets in that aircraft carrier. But they tried to make it a sort of minifig size. You're never going to get a real minifig size aircraft carrier. But what they did is they made it that you can play with minifigs with that one. So that's really in a whole different category. So when I build that again for the fourth time, and put it side by side with all three of these aircraft carriers, you'll see the big difference. You could play with them all together. It'll be perfectly fine. This is imagination. You can do whatever you want. But you can call that one a super carrier. You have a super carrier, and then you have this carrier, and then you have a super carrier, which would be the Ban Bao aircraft carrier. And really, before any of you ask, yes, I'm neglecting to mention one aircraft carrier I put together. Anybody want to guess? You want to guess? You want to guess? The best lock aircraft carrier, or as I like to call it, the worst lock aircraft carrier. That was horrible. That doesn't even fit into this category. That's a lot worse than that Creo battleship they're referencing. I mean, that was horrible. And it fell apart, but I still I think it was the drop test. It fell apart in a bunch of little pieces. So that worst lock aircraft carrier, I will be putting it back together. And I hope to film something where we're going to blow it up or burn it or run over the car or something really cool. Maybe, but that was horrible. That does not even in this category. That would be like a barge next to it, a fuel barge or something, or a supply ship. Maybe a life raft for one of these aircraft carriers, not even in the same category. So don't even bring that one up. I regret bringing it up myself. All right, so what do you think? Have you seen this set? Do you want this set? Of course you do. Some of you might already have this set. I can't believe I'm the only person in the world who has this set. Well, maybe not, because when I first put that Ban Bao aircraft carrier up on YouTube, I was the only person in the world on YouTube who had a video about it. And that still might be the case. I don't know. So, would you like this set? Because I'm telling you, if you like the style and you want to get a thing of glue ready to put it together, then, it's a cool set. But just, think about what you're doing here. If you say, wow, this will be really cool and it'll be great. Yeah, I'd go with the BrickTech aircraft carrier. About the same price and a lot better design. But if you already have the Brick Tech and you already have the Kitty Hawk and you already have the Bamboo, you need this one too because we want to get all the brick aircraft carriers in existence. So leave your comments in the comment section, and as always, thanks for watching.
Beanmeister 22, the most dangerous man on YouTube.